So when your hand cramps up from writing too much, or uh, your arm starts to feel like a rock because you're climbing a rock, or you just can't seem to differentiate your fingers and you get that sort of claw-like feeling for a moment, it can be kind of scary. What's actually happening here is a form of what's called focal dystonia or cortical smudging. Now, in extreme cases of focal dystonia or cortical smudging, serious motor problems can develop. Serious motor control problems can develop, and it's not a pretty thing. But in minor versions of this, we may just get a little cramp in our hand. There may be some pain associated with it. It's not comfortable, even if this is happening on a less extreme level. But it's important to understand exactly what is happening, because the models for our body are represented in the sensory motor cortex of the outside part of our brain. That's kind of an oversimplified way to put it, but in other words, you have maps on the outside of your brain for every part of your body. So there's a map for your little finger and then your ring finger. Again, oversimplifying a bit. In a case of cortical smudging or focal dystonia, those maps on the outside of your brain start to become blurry and even bleed over into other areas. So, for example, the part of the map that represents your little finger might bleed over into the part of the map that represents your ring finger. And so, since your motor cortex is a bit confused about what to fire, then everything fires together and you develop a cramp, or the sensation of a claw-like hand, or a part of your body that you just all of a sudden is stuck and you can't move. It can be a little frightening if you don't know what's going on. In cases where people have jobs where they type a lot or they use one body part over and over again repetitively, you can put yourself in a position where those maps start to bleed over on one another. They become smudgy. The cortical representations of those parts of your body start to bleed over into one another. But this can be managed. The easiest way to manage this is to do different movements, do something unique, do something different. But it can also help to just boost your awareness of those parts of your body to really train your map. So let's say that, like me, you're directionally impaired and you want to grow your knowledge of an area. Well, how would you do that? You should go drive. You should explore, right? In order to understand where things are in relationship to each other, and so you can build sort of a picture of a grid in your mind. So it's the same way in your body. In order to address focal dystonia or cortical smudging, minor cases, you can grow your awareness of the body part. There's a lot of different ways to do this. You can play with mirrors in order to trick your brain into thinking that the affected area of your body is just like the area that's not affected. We can get more into that later. Another way that is really simple is just to maybe take a pin, or if you have a feather, something light, and just trace over different parts of your body. The part that you're experiencing the problem. So, for example, if it's your forearm or your hand, you could trace up and down your forearm, just really following the line. You could outline what you think are the muscles or the bones in your arm or hand. You could also start to do really interesting things with your hand or your forearm that you haven't done before. Maybe you grab a domino and you close your eyes and you try to feel all of the dots on the domino with your pointer finger or your pinky. And then you compare that to another domino. You pick up a domino off the table and you try to feel all the dots. So just getting more and more sensitive enhancing your map, your cortical representation of that part of your body will help focal dystonia or cortical smudging. So hope that helps. There's a lot more to that, but that's just a quick version of how to solve the problem of getting that claw-like feeling in your hand or forearm.